The Lumari ship felt like living inside a rainbow. Every surface shimmered with colors that didn't exist on Earth, and the air itself seemed to sparkle with creative energy. Maya's new family consisted of 6 artist beings who spent their days creating masterpieces from pure thought and emotion. They could paint with starlight, sculpt with gravity, and compose music that could make you see colors with your eyes closed. At first, Maya felt like she had finally found her perfect home. The Lumari appreciated beauty in all its forms, and they were fascinated by Maya's human perspective on art and nature. They created stunning visual representations of her memories from Earth, her grandmother's garden blooming in 3-dimensional light. The sound of ocean waves transformed into flowing sculptures that moved through their ship like living poetry. For 6 months, Maya learned to create art beyond anything humans had ever imagined. She painted her emotions directly into the air, where they took the form of dancing butterflies made of pure feeling. She learned to sing her thoughts into existence, watching her hopes and dreams materialize as glowing creatures that flew around the ship, bringing joy to everyone who saw them. But, gradually, Maya noticed something that made her heart sink. The Lumari were obsessed with perfection. Every piece of art had to be flawless. Every emotion had to be refined and polished until it lost all its rough edges. When Maya created something that felt raw and honest, like a sculpture representing her loneliness that looked jagged and incomplete, the Lumari would gently suggest ways to improve it, smoothing away all the parts that made it feel real. Maya missed being able to make mistakes. She missed the human ability to create something messy and beautiful and imperfect and still love it exactly as it was. The Lumari's art was breathtaking, but it felt cold somehow, like looking at perfect photographs instead of living, breathing moments. When Maya tried to explain this to her Lumari family, they listened with the patient expressions of beings who had heard this complaint from other species before. They created a special room for Maya where she could make practice art that didn't have to meet their standards. But somehow this made Maya feel even worse. It was like being given a playpen when what she really needed was to be understood. After 8 months with the Lumari, Maya found herself being transferred again. It's time to the Vexti, a species that functioned as one giant collective mind. Living with the Vexti was like being part of a cosmic symphony where every individual was a single note in a massive, beautiful song. They shared every thought, every feeling, every experience instantly with the entire group. The Vexti were incredibly efficient and harmonious. There were never any arguments because everyone understood exactly what everyone else was thinking at all times. They solved problems instantly by pooling all their knowledge and creativity together. Maya felt like she was plugged into the universe's most advanced computer, with access to thousands of years of wisdom and experience, but the constant mental connection was overwhelming for Maya's human brain. She couldn't even think about wanting to be alone without the entire collective immediately knowing about it and trying to help her feel better. Privacy didn't exist. Personal thoughts were considered selfish. The Vexti genuinely couldn't understand why any being would want to keep their thoughts to themselves. Maya lasted only 4 months with the Vexti before requesting another transfer. The constant mental noise had given her headaches that felt like her skull was too small for her brain. She missed the simple pleasure of having a private thought, of daydreaming without having to explain herself to anyone. Next came the Eternals. Ancient beings who had lived for thousands of years and possessed wisdom that spanned entire galaxies. They were kind and patient, treating Maya like a beloved child who would someday grow up to understand the deep mysteries of existence. They taught her about the cosmic forces that connected all life, showed her how to see the energy patterns that flowed between stars, and shared philosophical insights that made her previous understanding of reality seem tiny and limited. But the Eternals were so removed from everyday emotions that Maya felt like she was living in a museum. They observed her human feelings with the detached interest of scientists studying an interesting specimen. When Maya laughed at something silly, they would nod approvingly and make notes about the curious ways that young species expressed joy. When she cried from homesickness, they would comfort her with lectures about the temporary nature of all emotional states. Maya spent 7 months with the Eternals, learning incredible things about the universe while feeling increasingly lonely. In her own skin, she began keeping a digital journal on a small device the Zephyrians had given her. At first recording her scientific observations, but gradually pouring out her growing frustration and sadness. Day 847 in space, she wrote one evening while floating in her sleeping chamber aboard the Eternal ship. Today I saw the birth of a new star. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. Matter and energy dancing together to create light that will shine for billions of years. The Eternals explained the entire process to me, from the gravitational forces involved to the nuclear fusion that makes it possible. I understand it all perfectly now. But what I really wanted was for someone to just stand there with me and say, "Wow, look at that," and mean it the same way I meant it. She had now lived with 7 different alien families across multiple star systems. Each group had treated her with genuine love and respect. Each had tried their best to make her happy and help her grow. But Maya was starting to realize something that made her chest feel tight, with a sadness she couldn't name. Being cared for wasn't the same as being understood. Being valued wasn't the same as being known. All these wonderful beings appreciated her mind, her curiosity, her dedication to learning, but none of them seemed to understand her heart, the messy, illogical, a beautifully imperfect human heart that wanted to laugh at nothing, cry at everything, and feel completely ridiculous and completely profound at the exact same time. Maya stared out at the stars through her chamber's transparent wall, watching distant galaxies spin in their eternal dance. Somewhere out there, billions of light years away, was a small blue planet where people hugged each other for no reason, told bad jokes, ate ice cream when they were sad, and fell in love in ways that made no logical sense whatsoever. For the first time since leaving Earth, Maya began to wonder if she had made a terrible mistake. Dr. Maya Rodriguez had always felt more comfortable with fish than people. At 28, she spent most of her days alone in her small research boat, studying the mysterious creatures that lived deep in the Pacific Ocean, while other people her age were getting married and starting families. Maya was perfectly happy with her underwater cameras and scientific equipment. That Tuesday evening in October changed everything. Maya was camping near the remote coastal forests of Oregon, collecting water samples from a hidden lagoon that very few people knew about. She had been working there for 3 days, and the place felt like her own private paradise. The water was crystal clear, and strange fish swam in patterns she had never seen before. As the sun began to set, Maya noticed something odd. The fish in the lagoon started swimming in perfect circles, all moving in the same direction. She had never seen anything like it in 15 years of marine research. She grabbed her underwater camera and jumped into the shallow water, hoping to record this unusual behavior. That's when she saw the light. At first, Maya thought it was just the reflection of the moon on the water. But the light was too bright, too steady. It seemed to be coming from somewhere deep beneath the surface. She held her breath and dove down, following the mysterious glow. The light wasn't coming from the water at all. It was coming from above. When Maya surfaced, she found herself looking up at something that shouldn't exist. A massive, silent craft hovered just above the treetops. It looked like it was made of some kind of living glass, shifting and changing shape as she watched. But the strangest part was how she felt looking at it. Instead of fear, she felt curious, almost like the craft was curious about her 223 beings descended from the ship, moving slowly and gracefully through the air as if they were swimming. Maya's scientific mind told her to run, to hide, to document everything. But her heart told her something different. These creatures didn't feel dangerous. They were tall and thin, with skin that seemed to glow from within. Their eyes were large and kind, and when they looked at Maya, she felt a warm sensation in her mind, like someone gently touching her thoughts. They didn't speak with words, but somehow she understood them perfectly. The beings introduced themselves. As a family of travelers from a distant star, they had been exploring different worlds for generations, learning about life in all its forms. They had been watching Maya for days, fascinated by her dedication to understanding ocean life. They had never met a human who spent so much time trying to communicate with other species. Through their gentle mental connection, they showed Maya images of their home world. Vast oceans filled with creatures that sang in harmony.
Cities that
Floated on water, powered by the life force of the sea itself. They were scientists too, in their own way, and they recognized a kindred spirit in Maya, the eldest of the three beings, who felt like a grandmother figure, explained that their family had been searching for someone like Maya for a very long time. Someone who understood that all life was connected, that every creature had something important to teach. They asked if she would consider joining their family, traveling with them to study life on other worlds. Maya stood in the shallow water, her wet clothes clinging to her body, looking up at these impossible beings from another world. Any normal person would have run screaming. But Maya had never been normal. She had always felt like she didn't quite fit in with other humans. Her colleagues thought she was too obsessed with her work. Her family worried that she spent too much time alone. Here were beings who appreciated her passion, who saw her dedication as a gift rather than a problem. They weren't asking her to change who she was. They were asking her to be more of who she was, just in a bigger universe. The beings gave her time to think. They explained that they never forced anyone to join them, that all decisions had to be made freely. They would return in 3 days, and if she decided to come with them, she would be welcome. If not, they would leave her in peace and never bother her again. For 3 days. Maya sat by the lagoon, watching the strange fish swim in their perfect circles. She thought about her life on Earth, her tiny apartment filled with scientific journals, her job at the university, where she felt like an outsider, the family dinners where relatives asked when she was going to find a nice man and settle. Down, she thought about the being's offer. To see oceans on other worlds, to study creatures that no human had ever imagined, to be part of a family that valued her exactly as she was. On the third evening, Maya made her decision. She wrote a letter to her research supervisor explaining that she needed to take an extended leave of absence for personal reasons. She left it in her truck along with her apartment keys and a note for her landlord. When the gentle beings returned, Maya was waiting for them at the water's edge with a small backpack containing most precious possessions, her grandmother's necklace, her field notebooks, and a photo of her parents. As she stepped aboard their living ship, feeling the warm, breathing walls around her, Maya looked back at Earth one last time. She had no idea that this decision would lead her on a journey across dozens of worlds, through the homes of many alien families, and eventually back to a love she never expected to find. The ship rose silently into the star-filled sky, carrying Maya toward her first adventure among the stars. For the first time in her adult life, she felt like she was exactly where she belonged. Or at least, that's what she thought at the time. Life aboard the Zephyrian ship was unlike anything Maya could have imagined. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsing gently with a soft blue light that changed with the ship's mood. Her new family consisted of 12 beings, all related in ways that Maya was still learning to understand. They communicated mostly through touch and shared thoughts, which felt beautiful but also exhausting for Maya's human mind. For the first few months, everything felt magical. Maya studied creatures on 3 different planets that the Zephyrians visited during their research missions. She saw fish that lived in liquid methane, plants that sang to each other across vast purple forests, and tiny creatures that existed as pure energy. Her scientific notebooks filled with discoveries that could revolutionize biology back on Earth. But as time passed, Maya began to notice something troubling. The Zephyrians were incredibly kind and intelligent, but they approached everything, including emotions, as a problem to be solved logically. When Maya felt homesick and cried one evening while looking at photos of Earth, they gathered around her with concerned expressions and began analyzing her tears under microscopes to understand the chemical composition of sadness. They meant well. But Maya found herself missing the messy, illogical warmth of human emotion. When humans were sad, they hugged you or brought you ice cream or just sat quietly beside you. The Zephyrians wanted to fix her sadness by removing its cause entirely, which somehow made her feel even more alone. After 18 months with the Zephyrians, Maya realized something important during a family meeting. as the beings discussed her continued sadness in their gentle, analytical way. She understood that she wasn't just homesick for Earth, she was missing something deeper. The unpredictable, chaotic, beautiful mess of human connection. The Zephyrians, being wise and caring, recognized the problem too. They had consulted with other traveling families across the galaxy, and everyone agreed that Maya needed to be with beings who were more similar to her emotional nature. That's how Maya found herself being transferred, with all the ceremony of a beloved daughter leaving home, to live with the Corvani warriors. The Corvani ship was completely different from the gentle, living vessel of the Zephyrians. Everything was made of dark metal and sharp angles. The Corvani themselves were impressive. Tall, strong beings with tough skin that looked like armor and eyes that seemed to burn with inner fire. They valued courage, strength, and individual achievement above all else. Maya's new family consisted of 8 Corvani warriors, led by a fierce female named Battlesinger Thane. At first, Maya was intimidated. These beings could crush her with one hand, and their daily routine involved combat training that would have killed most humans. But to her surprise, they welcomed her warmly and immediately began teaching her their ways. The Corvani believed that all beings had an inner warrior that needed to be awakened. They taught Maya meditation techniques that involved focusing on her breath while imagining herself as an unstoppable force of nature. They took her on hunting expeditions to uninhabited worlds, where she learned to move silently through alien forests and track creatures she couldn't even pronounce the names of, for 8 months. Maya lived the life of a warrior scholar. She grew stronger physically than she had ever been in her life. Her reflexes became lightning fast, and she could now sense danger before it appeared. The Corvani were proud of her progress and began including her in their most sacred rituals, which involved facing your deepest fears while surrounded by the support of your chosen family. But once again, Maya found herself feeling like something was missing. The Corvani were incredibly loyal and brave. Their culture was built around constant competition and proving yourself worthy. Every conversation became a test. Every meal was an opportunity to demonstrate your strength. Even their expressions of love involved challenges and contests. Maya missed being able to just relax and be silly sometimes. She missed conversations that wandered from topic to topic without any goal. She missed being able to show weakness without it being seen as something that needed to be conquered immediately. The Corvani, like the Zephyrians before them, noticed Maya's restlessness. In their direct way, they asked her what she needed to be truly happy. When Maya tried to explain that she sometimes just wanted to sit quietly and watch clouds without turning it into a lesson about weather patterns or a test of patience, they looked at her with confused respect after many discussions among themselves. The Corvani decided that Maya needed to be with beings who appreciated beauty and contemplation for their own sake. They arranged for her to join the Lumar, a family of artist-philosophers who lived on a ship that looked like a floating crystal palace. As Maya packed her few belongings and prepared for another transfer, she hugged each Corvani warrior goodbye. They had taught her to be strong and brave, but they couldn't teach her to be content with strength and bravery as life's primary goals. Battlesinger Thane gave Maya a small crystal weapon as a parting gift, telling her that she would always be welcome among the warrior families if she ever decided to return. Standing in the docking bay of the Lumori ship, surrounded by beings who created art from pure light and spoke in musical tones, Maya felt a familiar mixture of hope and uncertainty. These new beings seemed gentle like the Zephyrians, but passionate like the Corvani. Maybe this time would be different, but deep in her heart, Maya was beginning to suspect that the problem wasn't with any of these wonderful alien families. The problem might be that she was looking for something that could only be found in one place in the entire universe, the messy, imperfect, gloriously chaotic world of human hearts. By the time Maya had lived with her 15th alien family, she knew it was time to go home. The Crystalline Collective had been her most recent hosts, beautiful beings, made of living crystal who communicated through light patterns and shared their vast knowledge through direct energy transfer. They were incredibly wise and had shown her wonders that would have made her younger self weep with joy. But even surrounded by their shimmering wisdom, Maya felt more alone than ever. The decision to return to Earth didn't come suddenly. It grew inside her slowly, like a seed that had been planted during those first homesick tears with the Zephyrians and had been watered by every kind, but misunderstood gesture from every alien family since. Maya realized she had been searching for something in the vastness of space that she had left behind on a small blue planet, spinning quietly around an ordinary yellow star. When Maya announced her decision to return home, something amazing happened. Word spread quickly through the network of traveling families she had lived with over the past 3.5 years. The response was overwhelming. Every single alien family wanted to contribute something to help her on her journey back to Earth. The Zephyrians, her first alien family, provided the most important gift, a small but incredibly advanced ship that could travel faster than light. The vessel was beautiful, with walls that glowed softly and seemed to respond to Maya's emotions. It was equipped with everything she would need for the 8-month journey back to her home solar system. The Corvani warriors gave her weapons and protective gear, but more importantly, they gave her confidence. Battle singer Thane pulled Maya aside during the farewell ceremony and told her something that made tears flow down her cheeks. "You have the heart of a true warrior," the fierce alien said through their translator device. "Not because you learned to fight, but because you learned to keep searching for what your soul truly needed, even when it would have been easier to give up." The Lumari created a beautiful art piece for Maya, a small device that could record and play back her memories as 3-dimensional light sculptures. "So you never forget the beauty you have seen," they explained in their musical voices. "And so you can share it with others who have never traveled beyond their own sky." The Vexti Collective gave her something even more precious, a communication device that would allow her to stay in touch with all the families she had lived with. It was a small crystal that could send messages instantly across any distance in the universe. "You will always be part of our extended family," they told her. Distance means nothing to love. The Eternals, in their ancient wisdom, provided Maya with medical enhancements that would help her survive the long journey and adapt back to Earth's environment. They also gave her something unexpected, a storage device containing all the scientific knowledge she had gathered during her travels. "Your species deserves to benefit from what you have learned," they said, "but share it wisely when the time is right." Even the families Maya had stayed with for only a few weeks contributed something. The energy dancers gave her crystals that could power her ship using cosmic radiation. The void swimmers provided navigation tools that could find Earth from anywhere in the galaxy. The time weavers gifted her with a temporal stabilizer that would help her age normally during the long journey home. As Maya prepared to leave, she felt overwhelmed by the love and generosity of these alien beings. They had all tried so hard to make her happy, and in their own ways, they had succeeded. Maya was no longer the same person who had left Earth over 3 years ago. She was stronger, wiser, and had seen wonders that no human had ever imagined. But she was also more human than ever. The journey home was both the longest and shortest 8 months of Maya's life. Alone in her ship, traveling through the vast emptiness between stars, she had plenty of time to think about everything that had happened to her. She watched the communication crystal flash occasionally with messages from her alien families, one checking to make sure she was safe and happy. Maya spent her days writing in her journal, trying to make sense of her incredible journey. She realized that every alien family had taught her something important, not just about the universe, but about herself. The Zephyrians had shown her the value of curiosity and open-mindedness. The Corvani had taught her to be brave and never give up. The Lumari had helped her see beauty in everything around her. The Vexti had shown her the power of connection and cooperation, but most importantly, they had all taught her what it meant to be human. As Maya's ship approached the outer edge of Earth's solar system, she felt a mixture of excitement and terror. Would she still fit in with her own species after everything she had experienced? How could she explain where she had been without sounding crazy? Would anyone believe her stories about living crystal beings and artists who painted with starlight? Maya had changed in ways that went far beyond her experiences. The medical enhancements from the Eternals had made her stronger and healthier than any human had ever been. She could see electromagnetic fields with her naked eyes and sense the emotions of living beings from a distance. Her mind could process information at speeds that would seem impossible to other humans, but the biggest change was in her heart. Maya now understood what she had been searching for all those years before she left Earth, and all those months traveling from family to family across the galaxy. She hadn't been looking for adventure or knowledge or even acceptance. She had been looking for home, and home, Maya realized, as Earth grew larger and her ship's view screen, wasn't a place you found. It was something you built, with people who loved you not because you fit into their world perfectly, but because they were willing to help you create a world where you could be yourself. Maya had traveled farther than any human in history, lived with dozens of alien species and seen wonders beyond imagination. But the most important discovery of her journey was about to begin as she prepared to land on the planet where she was born. Carrying in her heart all the love and wisdom of the stars, ready to find out what it truly meant to be home. Maya landed her alien ship in a remote forest in Montana on a crisp October morning, exactly 4 years after she had first left Earth. The familiar smell of pine trees and morning dew made her knees weak with emotion. She had forgotten how good Earth smelled, how the air felt thick and rich compared to the processed atmosphere of spaceships. Hiding the ship using technology the Zephyrians had taught her, Maya began the difficult process of rejoining human society. She had prepared a story during her long journey home. She would tell people she had been living off the grid in Alaska, dealing with personal problems and trying to find herself. It wasn't entirely a lie. The first few months back on Earth were harder than Maya had expected. Everything felt both familiar and strange at the same time. Coffee tasted different than she remembered. Human voices sounded oddly flat after years of telepathic communication and musical alien languages. Even simple things like using money and driving a car felt foreign and complicated. Maya rented a small apartment in Missoula, Montana, and slowly began trying to rebuild her life. She avoided her old colleagues and family at first, not ready to face their questions about where she had been. Instead, she spent her days hiking in the mountains, relearning how to be human while processing everything that had happened to her, but isolation wasn't the answer anymore. Maya had learned that much during her time among the stars. She needed connection, real human connection. But she was terrified that she had changed too much to ever truly fit in again. 6 months after returning to Earth, Maya decided to attend a local environmental conservation meeting. She figured it would be a safe way to ease back into human society, working with people who cared about protecting nature, something she had always been passionate about. The meeting was held in the basement of a community center, with about 20 people sitting in folding chairs drinking coffee from paper cups. Maya almost left 3 times before finally forcing herself to stay. Everyone seemed so normal, so beautifully. It's perfectly human in ways she had forgotten existed. That's where she met Jake Thompson. Jake was leading the meeting, a tall man with kind eyes and calloused hands who spoke passionately about protecting the local watershed. He was a park ranger and single father, Maya learned, who had been organizing community conservation efforts for years. There was something about the way he talked about the forest with genuine love and respect, but without needing to analyze or improve it, that made Maya's heart skip a beat. After the meeting, "I don't think we've met before, Jake, and I have to say, some of your questions tonight showed real insight into ecosystem dynamics. Are you a scientist?" Maya felt panic rising in her chest. How could she explain her background without revealing the truth? But when she looked into Jake's eyes, she saw something she had been missing for 4 years. Simple, uncomplicated human warmth. "I'm Maya," she said softly. "And yes, I study marine biology. Or I used to. I've been ... away for a while." Jake nodded without pushing for details. "Oh, we could really use someone with your knowledge on our river restoration project. You be interested in volunteering?" Over the next few weeks, Maya found herself spending more and more time working with Jake's conservation group. She helped design better fish habitats, taught workshops about water quality, and slowly began to remember what it felt like to be useful in simple, practical ways. But it was Jake's 10-year-old daughter, Lucy, who really helped Maya understand what she had been missing all those years among the stars. Lucy was a curious, talkative girl who had been struggling since her mother died in a car accident 2 years earlier. She was fascinated by Maya's knowledge of fish and ocean life, but more than that, she seemed to sense that Maya understood what it felt like to be displaced and searching for where you belonged. "Do you ever feel like you're from somewhere else?" Lucy asked Maya one afternoon, while they were collecting water samples from a local stream. "Like maybe you were supposed to be born on a different planet or something." Maya's breath caught in her throat. She knelt down next to Lucy, looking into the girl's serious brown eyes. "Yeah," she said quietly. "I know exactly what that feels like." "My dad says that feeling means you're special," Lucy continued. "He says some people are born to be explorers and dreamers, and that's why they feel different." Maya felt tears starting to form in her eyes. Here was this wise little human girl saying things that all the ancient alien philosophers hadn't been able to help Maya understand about herself. As autumn turned to winter, Maya found herself becoming part of Jake and Lucy's daily life in ways that felt natural and right. She helped Lucy with her science homework, cooked dinner with Jake while they talked about their work, and slowly began sharing carefully edited versions of her experiences over the past 4 years. Maya told them about her spiritual journey, about learning meditation and different ways of seeing the world. She talked about the wisdom she had gained from studying different cultures and philosophies. Jake listened without judgment, asking thoughtful questions but never demanding more details than Maya was ready to share. "You've been through something incredible," Jake said one evening as they sat by his fireplace, Lucy asleep on the couch between them. "I don't know exactly what it was, but I can see it in your eyes. You've seen things that changed you in fundamental ways." Maya nodded, feeling understood in a way she hadn't experienced since leaving Earth. "The hardest part," she said softly, "was learning that you can be surrounded by people who love you and still feel completely alone if they don't really know who you are." Jake reached over and took her hand. "Then I guess the trick is finding people who love you because of who you are, not despite it." As winter melted into spring, Maya realized that she had found something she had searched for across entire galaxies. Not a perfect family or a perfect place, but people who were willing to build something beautiful together out of their shared imperfections. Echo never asked about the gaps in her story or the strange dreams she sometimes had about living crystal beings and ships made of light. Lucy never questioned why Maya sometimes knew impossible things about distant stars or why she could sense emotions that others couldn't see. They simply loved her as she was. All the cosmic dust and stardust that now made up her soul, all the wisdom and wonder and deep loneliness that she carried from her journey among the stars. 1 year after that first conservation meeting, Maya stood in Jake's backyard watching Lucy chase fireflies in the gathering dusk. Jake's arms were wrapped around her from behind. She felt something she had never experienced in all her travels across the universe. The perfect peace of being completely known and completely loved. Maya had traveled farther than any human in history to learn a simple truth that had been waiting for her in her own backyard all along. Home wasn't something you found among the stars. It was something you built, one ordinary moment at a time, with people brave enough to love you exactly as you are.